greenhouse gas emissions, and climate resilient development. So the Paris Agreement also has a bottom-up approach where countries individually decide on how much would they reduce according to their national emissions per year. And their commitment, they communicate these targets to UNFCCC Secretariat in the form of nationally determined contribution, or NDC. And that is how it goes. And these all NDCs are agreed to be for 5 years. So there is a 5-year cycle of increasing ambitions, is known as RECTEC mechanism, but we are not going through that today, but we will focus on climate finance. So what is climate finance? We know now that everyone agrees that climate change is a global issue and everyone in the world risks feeling the fallout of climate change. The atmosphere has become very tense. We have also spoke about climate emergency, and everything is spoke upon, and everyone now agrees that we must do something. And but the response to climate change vary widely, which means that it could be like for individual, it would be like installing just an energy efficient air conditioner maybe to cool their house. So at individual level also it varies. And at national level, it would be something like erecting or making a sophisticated network of dams and canals to prevent a city from slipping under the sea, rising sea. So either way, whether it is individual action or it is national action or regional action, we would need finance, and a high amount of finance to do these safety nets around us. Every country needs to work towards net zero, but also equally they need finance to work towards net zero. And adaptation is the foremost priority in countries with lower emission and acute vulnerability to climate fallout. And in this case, many small island developing states and least developing countries are very much has this priority. So, half of the world's population now living in climate is they are called to be living in danger zone, where people are 15 times more likely to die from climate impact. And therefore, the Secretary General has called for doubling finance for adaptation. It must be equally distributed in ways that it does not impose additional constraints to the countries. Climate adaptation is becoming more expensive because of the magnitude of climate change sets in. Like day by day, the climate impacts are increasing, like negative impacts are increasing, and therefore the expenses also rises. Initially, we could have just spent only 300 billion a year, which was predicted to be spent by 2030. But now it is said that we will have to spend like 500 billion money by 2050. So it is estimated that cost will be rising by 5 to 10 times greater than the current funding flows. And therefore, we need to know how we are doing in this climate finance. So this all first started from the Copenhagen Accord, and that includes an aspirational goal of limiting global temperature increase to 2 degrees Celsius, a process for countries to enter their specific mitigation pledges by January 31, 2010. In broad terms, it was required for them to report and verify the country's actions. A collective commitment was made by the developed countries for $30 billion in new and additional resources to 2010 to 2012 to help developing countries reduce carbon emissions, preserve forests, and adapt to climate change, and a goal of mobilizing $100 billion a year in public and private finance by 2020 to address the developing countries' needs. And therefore, it also called upon to establish these two entities, which is called Global Environment Facility, GEF, and Green Climate Fund. And the convention also set up, and that means that this convention set up a financial mechanism to provide financial resources to developing countries. And the financial mechanism also served the previous Kyoto Protocol, and they are also serving the Paris Agreement. So this is all been developed in now many years. However, the lack of resources to limit and adjust the climate change have fallen out, and it is pushing a decent life to even survival beyond reach for many. This is called as an injustice, which is compounded by the fact that the countries and communities with the most limited means are mostly those who have contributed least to the climate change and having the highest negative impacts of climate change. Most greenhouse gas emissions come from the wealthier country. And therefore, in this respect, climate finance refers to the money that is provided by the developed countries to the developing economies in order to help fight the problem of climate change. And therefore, it is that the money gained by the developing countries, they have to invest or develop and invest in economic friendly technologies and the resources, such as wind and power, solar power, wind power or solar power. And this could be like investment in greener technologies could be considered as a weapon that an individual or a nation would use to fight the climate change. So now, though we have embraced a landmark principle of common but differentiated responsibilities, it is a requirement for everyone to act on climate change. And the justice demand that who have contributed more to the problem assumes a greater responsibility to solving it. In many respects, climate finance, when it is sufficient and invested in the right ways, it is on a path of climate justice. And therefore, we must ask, or it is a duty of developed countries to provide finance and allocate funds as a milestone for climate change. Now here, this is a picture, and it is only a snapshot of what has been already financed to small island developing states in Caribbean. And this figure I've taken from Stockholm Environment Institution. And you can see that France has provided several, you can see for mitigation and adaptation and this. I have forgotten to put a link here, but I will do that. And you can look at this and understand more about it. But what I want to show you today is this climate finance flow, and there is an interactive figure which explains you better. So let me just take you to that. I will stop sharing here and take you to this link. I don't want to link. Let me click on this one if I get through it. Yeah, okay. I Don't know if you can see this. Can you see my screen with the, uh, let me just wait a
Oh, we
second.
can't see the screen.
Can you see the screen with the figure at all? Different figure? No,
No.
No,
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 no.
no.
Wait a
Oh,
second. Yeah, I can
yeah.
understand. Wait, let me stop this sharing and then probably it will work. Mm, wait, okay. One second, please. Mm, I have lost my. Okay, I have got you. One second. Mm, okay, I've stopped sharing, right? And so I need to share this one. All right. I hope
Yes,
you can see this. Yeah.
yes, yes. We
So
can
you
see.
Now
can
we
see.
can.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So you can see if you click on United States, and I have put this link on my PowerPoint as well. So if you click on United States, it shows that 670 billion were spent into developing countries unspecified, then Iraq, Mexico, Syria, Arab Republic, and many of these people have got into, like several different things, uh, invested into making transport and storage more efficient, then increasing the ability of government and civil societies. So that is preparedness for readiness for climate change, then emergency response, then energy, and so on. So if you want to know more about it, you can play around here that how many uh, uh, what developed countries have done and contributed to developing countries. And it is very interesting graphs to understand what's going on in which industry and country. So I hope this would be very useful to you to understand this. So I will stop sharing about this and then share my PowerPoint again. So I was here and share. So I hope you can see my PowerPoint again.
Yes.
Thank you. And so, wait a second. All right. So, however, these finance are not mobilized as promised, which I mentioned that 100 billion of, dollars must be given every year, which was not fulfilled. And therefore, the United Nations Secretary General has mentioned that promises made at international climate finance must be promises kept. And therefore, the latest, I will close this, my presentation with the six main points that we need to continue to discuss and to emphasize more actions towards them. That first one is that so far this $100 billion goal has not been reached, and therefore the distribution of the and also the distribution of funds have not been equitable. And so in 2020, based on the latest OECD data, developed countries provided $83.3 billion. Dollars. Only 8% of the total went to low income countries, about a quarter to Africa. So even though both are highly vulnerable to climate change, they did not receive enough funds. So that is where now we need to focus. Secondly, the 100 billion dollar commitment is important because every dollar counts in combating climate change. And realizing this commitment is also a critical affirmation that countries can trust each other to join forces in achieving common goals. Secondly, with half of the world's population now living in the climate danger zone, which I already mentioned, where people are 15 times more likely to die from the climate impacts, the Secretary General has called for doubling the finance for adaptation. Now, climate adaptation is becoming more expensive as the magnitude of the climate change sets in. And therefore, the countries may need to spend more than, as I already mentioned, would require to spend more or double on their uh, investment for climate change. And therefore, this is again very much a tragical point, because if we delay, as we go on delaying, our finance will requirement will increase. um, Other is that estimated costs are 5 to 10 times greater than the current funding flow, and therefore we need to think of the finance efficiency also here, and the wastage of finance also need to be very much thought about, and how we create the investment from within our own resources already, and that is also need to be thought. Of course, we are looking from the external funds, from like developing countries looking to funds from the developed countries, but you can see that we have made a chaos out of it. And so I think we should be still, more formalized channels should be developed, more intelligent channels should be developed, and more efficient. We need reforms of at every level. Now, high financing costs largely drive unsustainable national debt burdens, because these, whatever the kind of climate finance come, it is having some sort of interest. It has either low cost, so we should be provide, I mean, there is only $47 dollar $47 billion have been provided with low cost or concessional interest rate out of those total of amount which was given to it. And therefore we should advocate for no cost grant finance, so that the reforms at so that the countries which are receiving the grants will be not in depth with the in depth, and they will not lose the economic development momentum. And therefore we should reform the international finance system and make climate and development finance more adorable and adequate. The third is the fourth is the fund supports climate justice in part through the lower cost of adaptation finance, which must be provided through grants or the equivalent, and that should go to the most climate vulnerable countries, including small island developing states and the least developed countries and the African states. Action on law and damage is also a matter of international solidarity and climate justice, and that is also very much important, and that should be established without any delay. Funds for adaptation must be prepared for and lessen climate impacts, which is like we have already just we have known these loss and damage funds just last year, but we have to work a lot on it, and we have to make it inevitable and make sure that they are disproportionately or unfair for vulnerable developing countries. And the early warning system are the most important. We have already seen that these can be a precautional level. At precautional level, this can help a lot to save the life and safety of the people, and they are also most cost effective instruments, and so we need to focus on this. At this note, I will stop my presentation. Thank you for listening to me. And I would say that let's all swing high in the sky beyond our network. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Renuka, for that detailed, yet crisp insight.
President IGEN, all the director of IGEN, all the speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. It gives me a great pleasure and honor part of this great occasion. I would like to congratulate organizers for organizing the great event for the benefit of sustainability and development for the global cause. The structure and pattern of renewable energy financing in India. Technological artifacts of renewable energy system are significantly different from the conventional power system. Hence, the cost element also differ for both the sectors. The cost characteristics are such that renewable energy projects are highly capital intensive in nature, with the zero fuel cost in contrast to conventional energy system. These zero recurring costs to have positive implication on the average electricity prices, which are less volatile in nature. Considering the technological characteristics of the sector, it has been projected that an investment requirement to meet the ambitious target set by the government of India of setting up 175 gigawatt would be around $189 billion. It is interesting to dwell more on the market structure of renewable energy in India. Unlike the conventional energy sector, the onus of developing the renewable energy sector is with the private sector. The challenge for the sector is then to mobilize private capital at a pace and rate in tune with the policy targets and goals. This is imperative due to the limited availability of public budget. Whatever limited public financing is available, it is primarily used as support funding to incentives private capital to flow into the sector. It is built on the premises that private sector has the potential to fund the sector. However, it requires an enabling framework to be created by the government. A deconstructed financial mapping for the sector reveals that the renewable energy sector is being driven by private investors and there is reliance and banking institutions to mobilize the necessary finance. However, there has been a reluctant attitude among the banking communities to finance renewable energy projects, primarily due to associated risks and uncertainties with these projects. This event in a recent study that clearly brings out that the substantial amount of finances from government-owned banks and other financial institutions have been flown into capital coal projects rather than renewables. This finance pattern is also very much aligned with the debt equity type of financing, where 70% of funds are sourced from debt and 30% are mobilized as equity funding. It is also contended that the debit cost of renewable energy projects in India is 24% to 32%, higher than what it is the United States and Europe, calculated on the basis of levelized cost of energy. On the other hand, the equity component of financing traditionally provided by the projects developers has experienced a metamorphosis. Recent financing patterns reveal that equity funding is provided by third parties such as private equity investors. This is evident as equity investment in renewable energy in India is gradually moving from balance sheet financing to project-based financing. Though the financing structure of renewable energy in India is dominated by bank finances, of late a variety of investors are found in the renewable energy space in Indian market. They range from commercial banks to private equity investors, institutional investors, and to developed banks. It can be observed from the following table that most recent type of investors in the space is the venture capital type investors to support the equity component under the project-based financing mode. However, the presence of foreign bank is conspicuous by their options. So commercial banks, equity banks, institutional investors, development banks are the finance institutions to fund the renewable projects. A detailed bank and non-banking finance of renewable energy projects reveals that about $2,570 million have been committed by the several banks. Of this, about 20% of the amount has been committed by the IDFC. The renewable energy financing in India, incentives and instruments. Renewable energy financing in India reveals some interesting evolutions and patterns. A variety of incentives and instruments are present in Indian markets to support renewable energy financing. The present section attempts to briefly highlight the most important incentive schemes and instruments of renewable energy financing in India. Historical analysis of the incentive structures for the renewable energy would be traced at the year 1992 with the creation of separate ministry at the center. Resistant beginning, various incentives have been provided from time to time to accelerate the growth of renewable energy sector in India. It is observed that there has been a transition from publicly supported incentive mechanism for renewable energy development in the country to more of a competitively based incentive regime. Most relevant incentive schemes prevalent in the renewable energy space in India and which have bearing on the finance of sector are of three important types. That is accelerated depreciation, generation-based incentive schemes, and the viability cap funding is essentially a tax-based incentive on the tax returns of the project developers. AD provides financial incentives to investors by relaxing its tax liability on the investment. It is introduced in 2009 and continues as a mainstream incentive schemes for wind projects until 2012. This was again initiated in 2014 and continues to date with some modifications. For instance, the latest information shows that solar projects are eligible to avail depreciation of about 40% of their investment. Generation-based incentive mechanism offers an incentive per kilowatt hour of grid interactive solar and wind energy generation. One of the prime goals of the incentive mechanism was to mobilize a variety of independent power producers with a focus on promoting generation rather than only setting up projects. This incentive is over and above other incentives such as feed-in tariffs, which are provided by state utilities. However, these incentive schemes are largely withdrawn for utility scale projects, primarily due to rapid growth of renewable energy markets, leading to a dramatic fall in tariffs, which have almost achieved partly with the thermal power tariffs. As a consequence, there have been new form of smart incentive schemes introduced, such as viability gap funding, a mechanism to finance economically sustainable infrastructure projects that are not financially viable. This is usually a one-time grant provided by government to make projects commercially viable. The VGF scheme has been used by the Solar Energy Corporation of India to promote solar energy generation in the country. The latest available statistics shows that about 785 megawatt of tenders as considered to avail the VGF incentives. Apart from the above, solar projects used to receive a 10 years income tax holiday, which has been scrapped from April 2017. However, these incentive schemes are either redesigned or downscaled with the dramatic fall in renewable prices in the country. In addition, these exist a component of policy instruments such as renewable portfolio obligations, renewable energy certificates, and feed tariff schemes to drive the renewable energy sectors in the country. RPO essentially mandated power distribution utilities and other obligated entities to procure a certain percentage of electricity from renewable energy sources. These schemes are part of the regulatory requirements to transition to a green regime in India. However, issues exist related to the compliance of such obligations, primarily due to concerns related to the financial health of electricity distributions utilities at the provincial level. This happened despite interventions by the Supreme Court of India. This compliance problem also has led to piling up an oversupply of renewable energy significantly across states, such as 0.6% in Meghalaya to 10% in Karnataka for non-solar RPO. These regulatory requirements have also gradually become irrelevant with the introduction of competitive bidding mechanism as a procurement mode of renewable energy. The discussion of renewable energy financing in India is incomplete without a discussion of key organizational structures devised for the sector. Given that technical contours of the renewable energy sector are different from other economic sectors, attempts have been made by the government of India long ago in 1987 to create a non-banking dedicated financial institutions called the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agencies Limited. As a government of India enterprises to promote renewable energy projects through financial assistance. This institution works under the aegis of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy of the Government of India and offers financial support to renewable energy projects by offering soft loan, counter guarantees, securitizations of future cash flows, etc. Beyond IRIDIA organizations such as power finance corporations, rural electrification corporations, and the National Bank for Agricultural and Rural Development are the key government agencies providing required finance for the renewable energy sector. Apart from the above, there exists a host of banking and non-banking institutions offering various financial services to accelerate renewable energy growth in India. Apart from that, there have been efforts made to create new institutions, mechanisms, and instruments to drive renewable energy development by providing alternative funding avenues. These sections briefly highlighted all of them. National Clean Energy and Environmental Fund is one of the such funding mechanism available to support renewable energy financing in India. The fund was created to support entrepreneur ventures and research in the clean energy technology by mobilizing funds through a cess on goal of 400 rupees per ton, known as Clean Environmental Cess. The fund has been operational since 2011-12, and it is primarily aimed to mobilize additional resources to support clean energy development. Part of the fund gathered from the NICIF is utilized by IRDA to lend to bank at a 2% rate, so that this money can be lent to various renewable energy projects at the concessional rate of interest not exceeding a 5% rate. The budgeted estimate for the year 2017-18 shows that about 54,410 million rupees has been allocated to the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy under various heads to support renewable energy development in the country. However, there exist several concerns with the fund. First, the renaming the fund from Clean Energy Cess to Clean Environmental Cess is a clear reflection of broad basing the use of fund for multiple purpose, essentially diverting the money for purpose not meant for. For instance, a recent assessment carried out on NIS shows that an increasing amount of the fund is diverted towards projects other than renewable. The fund lacks appropriate monitoring mechanism to oversee whether the financed projects have achieved their goals or not. There have been concerns the allocation of resources for different projects as well as operationalization of the fund. It is argued that the CESS has created a mess in utilizing the fund and diverting to areas that were not prioritized during the design of this fund scheme. A clear reflection of such mess is reflected in the Government of India recent policy to use the fund to finance the goods and service tax, that is GST, compensation fund, and on the project to reventure the river Gangas. Recognize of priority sector lending. Considering the importance of the sector, the need for mobilizing capital by the private sector, RBI has categorized the renewable energy sector as a priority sector lending in April 2015. The primary purpose of the such categorization is to enhance employability, build basic infrastructure, and strengthen the competitiveness of the economy. The RBI guidelines suggest that 40% of the net credit of banks should be lent out the priority sectors. However, there is cap put on the bank loans for renewable energy projects. The loan ceiling has been kept at $2.3 million per borrower, that is 15 crores rupees, for renewable energy projects such as solar projects, generators, biomass based power generators, windmills, micro hydel plant, and for non-conventional energy-based public utilities via street lighting scheme and remote village electrifications. Though the effort to list the sector in the priority lending sector is praiseworthy and can enhance the ease and doing business. However, the current trends shows that it has not resulted in flowing in the required finance from bank to sectors. One of the reason is due to clubbing of renewable energy within the larger umbrella of energy, resulting in the larger chunk of money flowing into the non-renewable energy sector. Given the magnitude of the exposure of the power sector to bank loans, it becomes a cumbersome affair to mobilize additional loans through the priority sector lending route. Soft loan from Iridia. Iridia extends loan to the renewable energy projects developers that bears low interest rates. The funding is routed through the various modes such as direct lending and lending through various financial intermediaries such as providing various lines or credit of NBFCs and underwriting of debits, etc. IREDA also uses the NCEF to provide subsidiary debits at the 5% rate of interest to renewable energy projects through select banks. IRDA often sources funds from international agencies and banks to provide such loans for renewable energy projects. For instance, European Investment Bank has provided a long-term loan of euro 150 million euros to fund clean energy projects recently. Similarly, the World Bank has provided $100 million to IREDA to promote and develop solar parks. Along with the soft loans, IREDA also offers other services such as providing a letter of comfort, discontinuing of energy bills, and providing credit enhancement facilities. However, it has been reported that IREDA as an organization has not been able to continue as a leader in financing the renewable energy. There have been regulatory concerns with the financing of projects in terms of delay in sanctioning of loans. A recent study highlights that an average sanctioning of projects is delayed by about 66 days beyond the prescribed norms of 90 days. Green banking. Green banks have emerged as an innovative tool for accelerating clean energy financing globally, such as dedicated financial institutions are proved to be a successful mechanism for leveraging the limited public finance to mobilize the required private capital into the sector. The first such effort in India can be traced back to Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency planned in May 2016 to explore becoming the first green bank in the country. This idea was conceptualized with the understanding that it would utilize the limited public funds to mobilize private funds in order to meet the overreaching energy goals in India. This was the result of a 2-year discussion among various government agencies such as MNRE and IRDA and other stakeholders. Several other commercial banks in India have also taken initiatives towards converting to green banks. For instance, the State Bank of India offers long-term loans at concessionary rates of interest to renewable energy projects. Green banks have the potential to reduce the lending rates and offers flexible finance to match the needs of renewable energy financing. It is positioned that a green bank system in India could address the persisting finance-related challenges, such as minimizing foreign exchange risk, setting up engrove facility, providing blended lines of credit, etc. There have been a host of concessions associated with the green banking initiatives in India. One of the basic concern is about the legal sanctioning of such initiatives. While the need for such banks is felt in every nook and corner, regulatory mechanism in terms of recognizing of these new form of institutions by the Reserve Bank of India is very much imperative. The goal that green banks will mobilize the necessary finances at a cheaper rate has been successful in India. This is primarily because of the lack of mainstreaming of such kind of financial institutions in larger financial setting in the country. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I request Dr. Vidya to give her inputs.
Yeah, may I request Dr. Kavita to take over the lead, please?
Very good evening to all present here. Thank you, Pandian sir, for your descriptive explanation on the topic financing the complex transition to clean renewable energy. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so your suggestions and ideas regarding this topic gives the explanation about the transitioning to clean renewable energy on a large scale. It's a really complex and costly endeavor, but it's essential for combating the climate change and ensuring a sustainable future. And also, your insights about this topic shows the financing the transition, it requires innovative approaches and collaboration between governments, private sector entities, and civil society. And some of the strategies you have given for this can be employed to finance the complex transition to clean renewable energy or government subsidies and incentives, and also private and public partnerships and research and development funding, which you have given the idea was very inspirative, sir. And here, regarding this topic, they have explained about how the funds for this research institutions and universities to develop the renewable energy technologies is also very good. And about this topic, NBFCs, subsidiaries, IRDA, and green banking ideas are also very nice. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kavita ma'am. We've all been talking about the finance and the role it plays, an important role it plays in addressing the climate change and how we can provide for it to bring about sustainable initiatives. So our first pointer of deliberation was assistance in improving coherence and coordination in the delivery of climate change financing. I now open this pointer to the floor. If anybody has any contributions, you can feel free to unmute yourself and talk. So you can talk about the role of finance in addressing climate change.
Yeah. We are opening this pointer, taking permission from Mr. Tamba Samuel, who is unable to join us today. So if anybody would like to deliberate on it, you can message us in the message box, or otherwise, you can let us know through signal saying that you will be taking up this pointer, and we'll be doing this pointer towards the end. Now we would like to invite the next speaker for pointer 5. Over to Madam Sandhya Balaji. Thank you.
Yeah. So our next pointer of deliberation is climate finance advantage by tracking the social and economical impacts. So Yeah, so we know that there are many specialized financial instruments like green bonds, and there are many other customized financing solutions that aid the climate conscious. So, how can we bring about a revolution on this aspect to raise public awareness as well as to bring in a synergy between finance and the environmental responsibility? That is what this pointer is about. And to speak about that, we invite Mr. Kishan, who is to see the next big thing for the betterment of our planet. And he's also committed to sustainability and corporate social responsibility. And he's invested in SMEs that are part of transformative sustainable technology. And he's affiliated with organizations such as UNEP, which is the United Nations Environment Program, and UNFCCC, which is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And he's also the founder of World Climate Athletes, where he leads a group of people advocating climate action through their shared passion for sports. And yes, so we have, do we have Mr. Kishan here?
I realize that he is not here, but I have sent him a message just now, so probably might appear in few minutes.
Okay, then I believe Mr. Rangarajan is here. May I invite him with the permission of Dr. Vidya? The next pointer. Shall I go ahead, Dr. Srividhya?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so so building resilience to climate shocks is a priority, and yes, we need to organize this, and we need to have. I mean, we need to be, the preparedness is very important, and yes, here we have to talk about the imperative which involves implementing strategies and measures to reduce vulnerability and adapt to changing climate conditions and ensure long-term sustainability of ecosystems and societies which face the environmental challenges. So to speak on this, we have Dr. Rangarajan, who is a professor of and he has skills which encompass a wide range of including analytical abilities and proficiency in MATLAB and expertise in e-vehicles and fuel cells. He's also dedicated to enhancing students' knowledge by organizing technical programs and focused on current technologies. He's also a certified trainer for universal human values, and he plays a pivotal role in instilling essential values among students and faculty members. And he also serves as a mentor for student startups and young entrepreneurial minds, nurturing their innovative ideas and ambitions. So he has also won an award, which is the Positive Contributor Award from the Institute of Engineers India, and that is IEI TVLC, and also the Green 9 SDG Award in 2020, which is to acknowledge his contributions to United Nations SDG goal number 7, 9, and 13. So we welcome you, sir, to share your inputs.
So it is a green evening to everyone present over here, and thank you, ma'am.
Very
Yes.
good evening, and with due respects and apologies to you. I'm sorry to interrupt. Those who have joined in late using the previous link, kindly change your name. I think, if I'm right, Mr. Samba has joined, but he has joined in the name of Jessica Annabelle. That's for pointer 1. Mr. Samba, Mr. Samba Samuel, if you have joined, kindly change your name from Jessica Annabo to your own name so that we'll be able to invite you as the next speaker. Is that Mr. Tamba? Mr. Samuel? I think he has joined in. Mr. Samuel? Yes, there he is. So we have got the speaker for pointer one. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Samba. Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Thanks for joining in. Thank you. We'll be inviting you towards the end of the session. Thank you. It's nice having you here on this board.
It's a pleasure to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
With due respects and sincere apologies once again, Mr. Rangarajan, please carry on. Thank you.
No, nothing. I'm here. So, green evening to everyone present over here. I'm Rangarajan, working as an assistant professor in Velamal Engineering College, and I'm one of the director member in IGEN. And we are always here to help the Mother Earth to be greener and more perishable. So today my topic is actually building resilience to climate shocks is a priority. As everyone know, when we fall down, we need to get up. That's one thing we need to learn as a human being from our childhood. So climate risk cannot be reduced to zero. So we people are speaking about net zero, carbon zero, and we are working towards SDG, Sustainable Development Goals 2030, 17 SDG. And we from IGEN is also mostly contributing to all the SDG 17 goals. But we cannot able to bring back, or we cannot able to replenish as it is the Mother Earth when it is born, because we have made humongous impact to our Mother Earth. So which means government must take decisive action to help household and business to manage them. So we need to come. For this, you can see from this image itself, lot of funds needs to be organized. So only the COP, and I am welcoming this opportunity because the funds is most important. So we'll go. So what is a climate shock? So we can able to see the rising sea levels due to enormous amount of green gases which is being evolved through the years, and forest fires, and we can able to see a lot of new diseases are coming out. This all is a climate shock. So we need to be in the position to sustain this climate shock. That is itself a very big thing to the whole human being which is living in this earth. So this is not only going to affect the human being, it is also going to affect the animals and all the organisms which is living in this entire earth. So you can able to see, due to the global warming, the temperature is rising year by year, and our the Antarctic region is melting down the faster rate. So even polar bears is facing a very big issues over here. You could able to see rising sea levels is a big concern right now. Even in we are living in India, in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai. So they are telling that by 2040 or 2030, the sea level would be rising more than 1.2 meters. So 1 meters or so. So if then the cases 10 kilometer to 20 kilometer of entire city is going to be submerged. So in other way, there is not frequent monsoons is happening over here, and there is lack of water. So cattle are facing more problems. So these climate shocks include climate change, biodiversity loss, and that is food insecurity. So everything is related to climate, right? So we are going to face a very big issue in coming days. And as we all put together, we need to fight against this, and we need to at last survey. So in what way we are going to survey, that is what we are going to speak over here. So who is responsible for the climate shock? So none other than from the year 1800, right? We are speaking about industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and right now we are speaking about industry 5.0. So we are more in industrialization, we are more concerned about the GDP, we are more concerned about the dollar, we are more concerned about the rupees. But unfortunately, all the governments over the entire world has been polluted our Mother Earth in what are the maximum possible extent they have polluted. It is not one person. Throughout the world, each and everyone is responsible for doing this. So we are the responsible one. The humans is the one kind of race after 1800 we can able to see tremendously distributing the whole world, Mother Earth. And right now we are speaking about climate shocks, like more deadly diseases are coming, floods are coming, hurricanes are coming. Whenever something is happening, there is a huge loss. So what is the impact? So in Tamil, actually, there is a famous saying, Tinai vidaithavan tinai aruppan, vinai vidaithavan vinai aruppan. This is actually one of the most appropriate to speak at this juncture. So one who has sowed the seed shall reap the harvest. One who has sowed the spite shall recap the hatter. So this shows that all the human being, we, including me, is responsible for this climate action. And right now we are speaking in terms of GDP. There is going to be big loss in GDP, right? In India is going to be worstly affected in the near future. India needs around 1.04 trillion to meet NDCs by 2030, right? So we has made big error by polluting this environment. So we all need to be in juncture and we need to spend a lot of money towards at least for living this world for some more years. So we are in the juncture to build the resilience. So this picture clearly tells that everything is gone. It is not like that. We can able to build some resilience environment for human beings to live further in this whole world. So the effect of climate change are forcing the countries to confront the new challenges. Shocks not only threaten further progress, but can reverse hard-won success of the past. We have built enormous amount of infrastructure. We have built enormous amount of economy. We have built enormous money, everything throughout the world. You can able to see a lot of infrastructures has been developed. But once this climate shock is going to happen, it can devastate the entire scenario, will be changing upside down. So the cost involved in building the resilience of socio-economic systems to climate change in the developing world alone is projected a range of 140 to 300 billion by 2030. And between 280 to 500 billion by 2050, it is very huge amount. All the nations must be ready to spend to build our resilience towards the climate shocks, so that we will be much occupied to live in that climate shocks. However, we need to do previously to accommodate that. So what are the basic steps to build climate resilience? The climate resilience cannot be built by a single person. All the governments needs to come in line, and communities and businesses, everyone need to be point to point. We need to work together. So we need to first make the awareness rising in the advocacy. So be clear that the future is not going to resemble the past. We need to tell to everyone. So base this on the science and examine different scenarios, right? So if there is going to be rise in 1.5 degrees Celsius and higher, right, by 2030 or by 2035, we are in the very much greater devastation position. So we need to carry out the climate risk assessment at national, local, and sector and organization level, use a system approach, and we need to develop and implement appropriate action and intervention, and we need to mobilize the resources. So because there are many developing island countries are there and poor peoples are there, so poor countries are there, all are not rich, but climate action is not going to be mercy on them. So we need to push and mobilize a huge amount of funds towards this climate resilience and monitor and track progress and share the knowledge. One needs to share the knowledge and experience solutions to the others. So first, we need to build a resilient foundation with rapid and inclusive development. So we need to tell one famous dialogue. So poor get poorer, rich get richer. In the same way, this climate action changes is going to implicate very bad effect to the poor peoples because poor people are going to become more poorer and poor. They are not going to be accessible to the main things. So poverty and the lack of access to the basic service, including infrastructure, financial service, healthcare, social protection, are stronger protection of vulnerability to the climate change. So this we could able to see in our country, in our neighboring countries also during the pandemic, that is COVID-19, that many people would are not able to get a proper mitigation and they left their lives. So this shows that the build resilient foundation with rapid and inclusive development. Help people and firms do their part. So it is hand by hand, we need to help each other by nation to nation and people to people and economy to economy. We need to work together. It is critical to boost the adaptive capacity of household and firms. Many already have incentives to adapt, but they need help overcoming the obstacles ranging from lack of information and financing to behavioral biases and imperfect markets. So government can make information on climate risk available, clarify responsibility and liabilities. The government and like people like us needs to tell to the entire world that what are the responsibility and liabilities one need to face. So revise land use plans and protect critical infrastructure. So we can able to see a lot of hurricanes is happening in US, in India. If you are seeing there is a flood is happening. In recent times, we had a very big breakthrough flood which is happening in Himachal Pradesh, and now it in Uttarakhand, in the Himalayan regions, we could able to see a lot of disruptive activities are there, and we are losing all our infrastructure. So in addition to support household and business, government must also play a role in protecting public investment, assets and service, power and water outage and transport distribution. Because in future, we need to be very much vigilant because a lot of such kind of activities which will be happening in and around the world. But our government and our people like us needs to provide in such a smooth manner that basic amenities and basic infrastructure and critical infrastructure for having medical and for movement of food, for everything we need to have a better planning. It is required. So help people and firms recover faster and better. So as we discussed, there is a risk and risk impacts cannot be reduced to zero, and government must develop strategies to ensure that disasters do occur and people and firms cope up without devastating long-term consequences and can recover quickly. Preparation such as better hydro data, early warning, emergency management system reduces physical damage and economic losses. So we need to make more innovation in predictory mechanisms and predictions to be done at earlier stages to safeguard our government and people throughout the whole world. And manage impacts at the macro level. So this issues at the macro level impacts needs to be carried out through many impacts in many sectors, from flood affecting housing prices to change ecosystem affecting agriculture productivity. Because if you are seeing if there is a flood, entire paddy field is going to be demolished, and then the whole world is going to starve in future. This will be happening. So we need to be more predictive and we need to work together, and we need to always plan macro level when we are speaking about this climate action. So prioritize according to the needs, implement across sectors and monitor progress. So the whole world need to prioritize what is the need. So today's need is climate action, and the resilience environment we need to create towards this climate action and how they are going to implement. And government must not only prioritize action to make them compatible with available resources and capacity. The main objective of adoption of resilience strategy is not to implement the standalone project. It is to ensure that all the government departments and public agencies adopt the mainstream strategy in all the decision. So whenever if any organization or the government is going to take a decision, So we need to put the most important thing is the climate action. We need to put it in the front, and we need to plan accordingly. That is what we are coming to tell. So we know that COVID-19 and climate resilience, no, all the peoples in this current scenario who is living in this world has experienced what is climate action in other way. The COVID-19 pandemic represents one of the most severe global disruption of our time. Beyond the devastating direct health impacts and loss of life, the associated disruptions to societies and economics are unprecedented. So all we need to work together, how we are going to build a resilient future. So this is what the vision. So by 2050, if 1.5 degree warmer, we need to have resilient food and agriculture system, resilient water and natural ecosystem. We need to have resilient cities. We need to have resilient coastal zones and ocean. We need to have resilient infrastructures, everything. And hope we all together work, and we will be building a resilient future throughout the world to overcome the climate action. Thank you for the given opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Basically, we are all going to be very prepared for the future.
Yes.
With all your inputs. May I request you to stop sharing the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. May I request Dr. Vidya to give her inputs?
Yeah. Madam Dr. Kavita, could you please take the lead?
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Rangaraj sir, for your descriptive explanation and well informative talk on the topic building resilience to climate shocks is a priority. Really, it's an eye-opening session for all of us, and it gives awareness to the public, stating the climate risk about the climate shocks, stating the rising sea level to 1.2 meters. It really occupies a lot of space in the earth, and also the climate change, the biodiversity loss, and also the food insecurity. It really creates an awareness to the public to how to save our Mother Earth. And also, you have really given the top, you are rightly pointed out that the effects of climate change are forcing the country to confront new challenges. Shocks not only using the threaten further progress, but can reverse the hard success of the past. Well explained about the steps to build the climate resilience. Really, it's a very nice, sir, and also you are explained, you are given a lot of points regarding how to build the climate resilience, and this building the resilient foundation with rapid and inclusive development, and help people and affirm to do that part revise land. We can plan and protect the critical infrastructures, and helping the people and the firm recover faster and better management impacts at the macro level. And also, you are well pointed out that how to prioritize according to the needs implemented for the sectors, and also to monitor the progress. So thank you so much for your explanation about this topic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it is now time for us to understand how effective financial strategies are crucial in bringing about a transition to a low carbon, environmentally responsible future. May I now invite our speaker, Dr. Tamba Samuel Fande from Sierra Leone. Dr. Tamba Samuel.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hello, Doctor. Yes. May I request you to open your video, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to do that. I'm just trying to do some of that. Okay, here we go. Can you see me?
Yes.
We do.
Can you see me, please? Can you see
Yeah,
me?
you
Yes,
can
we
share your
can.
screen and start your presentation.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Okay. I'm talking about. Can I share my screen, please?
You can,
All
sir.
right. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Can anyone see my screen?
It's loading, and now we can.
Oh, brilliant. Lovely. All
Yes,
right.
you make it as a slideshow. You can try making it
So-
as a slideshow.
For it to be a slideshow.
Slideshow from the beginning.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, can you make it into a full screen? Yes.
There you are.
Yeah, that's it now. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Please
Thank
go
you.
ahead, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So Tamba Samuel Fande, the founder of Forum for Community Initiative Development, Sierra Leone. We working to foster and help with the government in addressing some of the challenges that are faced by people in the hard to reach communities in the country. And also we operate in charity activities for, oh my goodness, sorry. Just me. Oh, okay. Sorry. My system is misbehaving. All right. So yeah, today I'm here to present on the topic assistance in improving coherence and coordination in the delivery of climate change financing. You know, when we talk about assistance in improving, that means I think coherence and coordination has been there over the past years. That is within organizations, government, countries to countries. We know there have been coherence and coordination in delivery in different developmental aspects, you know. But we're now talking about climate change. We know it's a global issue that affects everyone because it is an issue that doesn't care about location, it doesn't care about opportunities or where you're from. So I have the abstract here, which can give you a brief background of exactly what this topic has to talk about. Is, you know, as the world grew up today in a urgent challenge of climate change, the role of facing in driving sustainable solutions has never been has ever been more crucial than before, because we are seeing, you know, a lot of climate issues are happening every day across the world. Not like before, it has to take like 1 or 2 years before we hear about some of those challenges. But today, within 2 to 3 days, we hear about climate crisis in a country, in this country, in another country. So, which is now making every country and every individual, let me say, every individual is now getting themselves involved into the fight of climate change. So I think this topic is very essential because the topic, as well known, the climate clock is now thinking, you know, like it's thinking of faster, as I told you earlier. It's happening every day, frequently. So it is very essential if as organization, government, people, and also encourage citizens to see how we all can come into a collaboration or a coherence to see how we can fight against this particular climate change. Of course, in my country, it is believed that climate change is a natural thing. So it's hard for you to convince people to believe climate change can be caused by human activities. So there comes in this coherence and coordinating. So let's look at the, hold on, let me see how I can get this off the screen. Sorry, please. Now the introduction. Improving coherence and coordination is in climate change financing is essential for optimizing resources, avoiding duplications, and increase the effectiveness of climate-related projects. What I mean by that, when we have a coherence when we have coordination in a particular country or organization, that is, there will be optimizing of resources. Now, assuming an organization in my country or the CBO, a community-based organization, wants to take a project in see how to address, how to talk to young people, how they can participate towards climate change in their country or in their communities or localities. Then another community also putting up the same project without coherence, without coordination. So maybe they are coming with different information, although those information might be something that might help the country or the institution or the government, but that would be a waste of resources because there is no coordination. So when organizations come together, organizations decide to say, let's put our hands, let's put our resources together to see how we can fight with one aim and one vision. I think that's the essence of this coordination and coherence. So there will be effectiveness. It's not only the efficiency, because we know there have been organizations who have been putting money into climate change, climate issues across the country, across the world today. Like for my country, I'm being specific, which I know most about. We know there are countries, there are organizations, there are humanitarians who have put a lot of money, but those money have not been used effectively for the fight against climate issues across the world. And that is why you see, after organizations might be existing, working towards a particular aim in a country for 3-4 years and no positive change. So why? Because there has been no proper coordination. There has been no proper, it has been there, but how can we improve on it? So now let's look at the definition of this topic. This topic involves strategies and actions aimed at enhancing the consistency and cooperation among various stakeholders. That means stakeholders, organizations, and mechanisms involved in providing financial resources for climate change, mitigating and adaptation efforts. When we look at the aim, that the consistency of various organizations coming together, stakeholders of different countries coming together, involving the citizens, talking to citizens of different countries to come together, to participate into the climate issues affecting the world today, globally. Then you look at the goal of this particular topic. Oh, sorry, my goodness, this has gone again. It's gone again, sorry. Okay. Now the goal is, what's the goal here of all this aim? The goal is to ensure that climate change funding is used efficiently and effectively to address the urgent challenge posed by climate change. Because it's a threat posed on citizens, posed on countries, posed on the world today, which is making different organizations, different leaders, world leaders, they are now focusing on this climate change because it has been a threat to everyone. So I think coming together, having this fund, using them effectively to address the urgent challenge. Normally, we see, like what happened in my country in 2018, there was a mudslide that happened in Sierra Leone, wherein you see a lot of people, more than 600 people were died. We are dead. We are loose. Nobody knows where they are. We couldn't find their body. We couldn't find their corpse. And those people, some of them leave their children behind. And the government wasn't too prepared. There was no preparation for the government to see how they can handle such a problem. What has to happen? There has to be responses, emergency response from different organizations, from different places to come in to see how they can help Sierra Leone with such problems. And Sierra Leone hasn't been like one of the most poorest countries in the world. And there are also poor countries that have not even cared to or bothered to prepare for financing economic challenges, climate challenges that are happening around the world. Maybe because they believe, no, this is a natural thing. If it is happened, it happens by God. You know, in my country, when somebody died, everybody believes this is God's will. It has happened, so we have to forget about it. So nobody cares. If another person dies, they said it is God's will. So that is why you see young people die day and night. Every day we have more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 young people that died in the countries, in most poor countries across the world. Because why? They don't believe it is something that they can fight. They just believe, no, this doesn't matter. It doesn't concern us. So that is why everybody has to forget about it. And it keeps affecting us, you see. So let's look at the other slide. Why climate finance? The urgency of the climate challenge cannot be overstated. Our planet is facing escalating climate impact, including among frequent and severe extreme weather events, rising sea level, loss of body visit, and disruptions to ecosystems. We have seen that in different countries where climate change has affected the drought, the sea level. You know, we have a lot of challenges in different countries that people have died. We have lost people. Economics has been collapsed. Buildings, powerful buildings, which are governmental buildings, those have collapsed. This has affected the economy of such countries. It has affected the life of such countries. You know, to mitigate these effects, to build resilience, effective climate financing is imperative. Without climate financing, it will be a fight of no success. It will be a fight of no positive achievement, because without finance today, we know that this finance is one of the key components that has to use to fight any unforeseen circumstances that's going to happen, whether in organization, in country, in everywhere, even in our families. So that is why finance is a key component that every organization has to look at. But the question, the problem here is this: how are we ready to use those finances effectively to see that they affect the actual problem that we are about to fight? Are we doing it out like how other organizations has been coming, fighting towards, they said, child labor, we want to fight child labor in Sierra Leone, and there have been more than 30 years, yet the child labor is still existing, and it keeps happening? Is it going to be like other organizations that are coming on that said, yeah, we are coming to implement infant mortality rate, and yet infant mortality rate keep increasing, and funding has been coming, they have been having funding, money has been there, finance has been coming to see how they can address those problems, and yet the problems remain, and they keep having more increase in the problems. So this is what we're going to look at here, that what we are fighting up as our promise 2030, the SDG goals, to fight it, that we must have to put a mind together of how we can fight climate issues. And that has to be with financing such occurrences in the country. So let's go to why coherence and coordination. Coherence and coordination in climate finance are vital to ensure efficient resource allocation, prevent duplication of efforts, as I was explaining earlier, maximize the impact of funds, then also to enhance transparency and accountability, reduce confusion for recipients, build resilience against climate impact, and gain political and public support for continued climate actions. In summary, they streamline efforts, making the most of available resource and driving effective climate solution. That is, we are coming together as a country to country, nation to nation. We are coming together, district to district, organization to organization. Why are we coming together? We are coming together to maximize the impact of funds, for transparency, for accountability. Let us be accountable. Let us be transparent to those funds that will come, to fight climate issues in our different localities. But one of the things I find out, one of my findings is that, having gone through this topic, how are governments being supportive towards climate issues in their different countries? I'm not talking about countries who have experienced it and believe that's a human cause that makes them keep experiencing it. I'm talking about countries that doesn't believe. There are still countries who are yet to believe that climate crisis, it is not as crisis of, it is not something that you can fight, that it is natural thing. You can't fight it. Because we have people talking to them on the radio, we have people sensitizing them, we have the faith base, we have the Christians, the Muslims. We need to target these people. We need to talk to them. We need to sensitize them because they are using it. That these things have been happening since ages before. So people think it is not necessary for me to put my money in climate financing. I see no need to finance the issue of climate because it is natural. So all we have to do is to pray against it. That's what people believe. But how are we going to convince those people to believe that we need to put our resources in financing climate crisis in our various localities? So look at it here. Look at this. Why do we have to prepare in the fight against climate crisis? Why are we to prepare? Escalating climate change. Because today there are various escalating climate change that are happening frequently. We know weather events that are happening, such as hurricanes, wildfire, floods, droughts, and many other things that are happening across the world. So we need to prepare. How are we going to prepare? We need to start giving out support to young people who are who need to be experts, who needs to be trained on climate change, humanitarian impact. Climate atmosphere can lead to the displacement of population, loss of life, and destruction of infrastructures, necessitating preparedness and respond measures to mitigate human suffering. Many people are dying, many people are suffering, and you can see only organizations can only come when the problems arise. Humanitarians only showed up when the issues arise, when people died already. Why can't we prepare ahead before the problem comes? We see, as Bill Gates once said, he said, we prepare our militaries to fight in wars that might come within the next 10 years. We prepared students to be educated. Why are we not prepared to fight the unforeseen circumstances that might come on our way as humans? We have the responsibility. It is in our own hand. Economic consequences, the financial cost of climate-related disasters are enormous. Let's look at it. In countries that has been affected in different around the world, let's look at what are the consequences they are facing. Their economics have been scrambled. Because why? There were no provision to provide, say, okay, we're going to keep $5 billion, we're going to keep $10 billion, we have raised $10 billion, and this is for disaster response. Anytime we experience economic crisis, climate crisis, what we have to do, we'll just put this money there to see we can able to, so we can run faster ahead of the problem. So we look at environmental laws, global interconnectedness, like countries that have a trade union and different relationship. There has to be a distance, because everybody must want to fight. Let's look at what happened during the COVID-19. During the COVID-19, what happened? Everybody cares about themselves. The UK was having defeat in this country, and they said, no, we can't keep funding, and we can't keep taking money, sending over. So we have to focus on ourselves. Different organizations, they pack up, they go. Because why? They couldn't keep funding different suffering countries. We have moral responsibilities. We also need to take actions now, not after the occurrences. Resource scarcities. We know the resource is scarce. Resource is never enough for any country, no matter how rich is the country. Even the country with the superworld power, which is the US, resource is never enough, because yet there are problems to amend. So our preparedness early is good, because they say failing to planning is planning to fail. For time's sake, let's look at some of this is just a few pictures of what happened in my country. Last, you can see some climate issues across Sierra Leone. In Sierra Leone, we have the west, the north, and the south. The southern part where we normally experience drought, flood, and mudslide, and other stuff, you see. So you can see in the background of the other picture where you see mining activity in Koidu City, you can see the mood up there. This is a hill that was packed. This is not a natural stuff. This is a mining pit. See the amount of dirty they removed from the ground. And this is now hanging, and houses are there. In case during the raining season, that mood all dropped off. It has to affect the people, but nobody cares to talk about this. Nobody cares to bring this down. Nobody wants to finance such problem. But now, just wait. In case this collapsed and killed thousands of people, you will see organizations coming in to spend billions of dollars. Why can't they spend that money now to prevent the occurrence, rather than spending the money after the occurrence? Now, my recommendations here, for time's sake, I'm just go about on the headlines to say, highlight the current challenges. We make sure we highlight the current challenges that are happening across the world and see how we can fund them. And we look at the advocates for coordination. Let there be advocates for coordination, organizations coming together. What I mean by this, now we know the sending money to the government directly, there is delay in government process. Government always have delay. Why can't international organizations start collaborating with community-based organizations? These are organizations that reach the least communities, the abandoned communities, the impoverished areas. These are organizations that go there. They walk on their feet. You can't expect government vehicles to reach those places. There are communities in my country which government vehicle will not reach till even within the next 10 years, they will never go there. But I tell you, there are community-based organizations that is organized by the people themselves. They are operating there to foster development. Why can't we coordinate with them? Promote transparency. Yes, by coordinating with those organizations, we make sure we promote transparency. Let them know that their contribution is for their own safety. Let there be transparency of what they want to do. Leverage technology, bringing more technology in. Also educating people, bringing conferences, online teaching, like what is happening now. Educating people every time, every moment, reminding them. Because one thing what the Bible says, it says faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing the word of God. So there will be a time, the more you keep talking to the people, the more you keep communicating, the more you keep encouraging them, the more they keep believing and taking responsibilities for what's happening around us. So, we look at the leverage technology, support capacity building, alignment with national properties, private sector engagement, risk mitigation, global solidarity, and public awareness, and many others, which I believe can comfort. So for my presentation, I would say thank you very much, as this is the end for the topic being shared. Thank you so much. I think I need to stop screen share now. All right. If there is any question from anybody, yeah, I will be happy to respond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fande. May I request Dr. Vidya to give her inputs?
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. Though it was though you came in late, but it was quite informative and to the point of exactly deliberating on the requirements which are up to date. Well, what we were quite impressed is about the overview of the finance flows of the biennial assessments and the overview of the climatic finance flows. Considering to reach out to the entities and financing and the activities referred for and to in decision and for other stakeholders, relevant stakeholders working on the forest finance, for example, to strengthen the coherence and coordination between the sectors and drive such in the access of the delivery of the support. Well, I'm talking about organizations which are quite involved in that process, that is ACF, for example, and conjugation with UNFCCC to facilitate the interactions and the financial entities providing all kind of support and with the outcomes, with a view of preparing with the recommendations of COP28, were much in line with the draft guidance and operating entities of the financial mechanism. Thank you so much. Thank you. Would like to deliberate more on that, but since we don't have, we are already ahead of time. It was definitely a brilliant presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much. It is always a pleasure having you with us. And over to Madam Sandhya Balaji to welcome the next speaker on board. Thank you. Yeah.
So a pointer of deliberation, thank you. A pointer of deliberation on climate finance advantage by tracking the social and economic impacts. The speaker is unfortunately unable to join us. If anybody from the audience is interested to speak on the same, kindly put a message in the chat box if you're interested to give your inputs on this pointer. And now I invite Ms. Jessica to give her inputs on our pointer number 3, which is COP in measuring, reporting, verifying, and extending support support to be provided to developing countries. Ms. Jessica?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm not the speaker, but I'll try to do my very best. So today I'm honored to speak to you about a topic of immense importance, and this is one that shapes our global response to climate change and environmental challenges. And that's the role of COP in measuring, reporting, verifying, and extending support provided to developing countries. These aspects are at the heart of international efforts to mitigate and adapt to climate change, and they hold the key to a more sustainable and equitable future for all. Firstly, let's discuss the critical role of measurement in the context of COP. Now, COP, specifically the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, really does provide a robust framework for measuring greenhouse gas emissions and assessing climate impact. It's important because you cannot measure or you cannot manage what you do not measure. So the process of measuring emissions and impacts helps us track progress, understand trends, and set achievable targets. Developing countries often require support in establishing these measurement systems, which is an area where cooperation and support from developed nations are critical. To effectively address climate change, the measurement should not be limited to emissions alone. It cannot encompass the assessment of the social and economic impacts of climate change, particularly in developing countries where vulnerabilities are often higher. The next one I want to talk about is the reporting component, and this is vital in the global effort to combat climate change. COP encourages countries to transparently report their emissions, their policies, their actions, and this information sharing really does allow the global community to gauge the progress countries are making towards their climate goals. So for developing nations, it's an opportunity to showcase their efforts and needs. However, it is not enough to report numbers. These reports must reflect the challenges and achievements of each country accurately. Developing nations often require capacity building to produce these reports effectively. So a fundamental aspect of COP is the transfer of knowledge and technology from developed countries to developing ones to enhance their reporting capabilities. Then we have the verifying component as well, which is the linchpin of trust in the global climate effort. We have developing countries often needing verification assistance to ensure their reported data is accurate and also reliable. It's essential to establish a robust system where data can be independently accessed and verified. This process builds trust among nations and ensures that the efforts made are genuinely contributing to global climate goals. The financial and technological support for verification processes should be extended to developing nations. These nations should have access to the necessary tools, technology, and expertise to ensure the transparency of their actions. And then we have the last, but absolutely not the least, the extending of support, which is one of the most critical aspects of COP. Climate change disproportionately affects vulnerable and less developed nations. Many of these countries lack the financial and technical resources to effectively combat climate change and adapt to its impacts. It is our moral duty to extend any sort of support that we can individually. Truly, no support is too little to these countries. So we need to recognize that we share a collective responsibility for the environment. The support must be multifaceted. It should include financial aid. It should include technology transfer and capacity building efforts. Developing countries need funding for clean energy projects, for infrastructure development and climate adaptation initiatives. They also need access to clean and sustainable technologies. Also, capacity building is essential to ensure that these countries can utilize this support in the best way possible. When it comes to extending support, it is crucial that developed countries fulfill their financial commitments. And this financial support is not just an act of charity, it shouldn't be, but it should really be a true and genuine investment in a sustainable and secure future for all. Moreover, extending support should not be a one-time effort. It should be an ongoing commitment, recognizing the challenges posed by climate change that will persist. And so I think COP should focus on building a mechanism that ensures continuous and sustained support for developed countries. So in order to conclude my short presentation, I will say COP plays a very vital and central role when it comes to measuring, reporting, verifying, and extending support to developed countries in their effort to combat climate change. And these aspects are interconnected, and together they form the foundation of a global response to environmental challenges. We must recognize the urgent need to address climate change, the significance of cooperation between developed and developing nations, and the moral responsibility to provide support is also needed. Moreover, highlighting the increasing number of financial authorities need to adopt prudential policies that integrate climate risks, as well as ongoing efforts to incorporate climate factors into the regulation of capital adequacy requirements. We need to have innovative ocean financing schemes and strategies in order to address the impacts of climate change and unsustainable practices on communities and sectors that are reliant upon ocean and coastal ecosystems, particularly in high-risk, small island nations and other developing coastal economies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Jessica. It was a wonderful presentation. I think you began speaker, but I'll try to do justice, more than justice. You covered every aspect of the topic, how developed nations should lend a helping hand, and how innovative financial strategies will help to different sectors of the society. So thank you so much for your inputs. We have not received any inputs from the floor on pointer number 5, which is to talk about the socio-economic impact and climate finance. So may I now request our program head, Dr. Srividhya, to give her inputs on the same.
Thank you, Madam Sandhya. Well, thanks for all the speakers who have been very spontaneous and impromptus, like Jessica, who have helped to manage the session so well and bring it to the, well, not diluting the standards of it. Right. Thank you. It was a wonderful presentation, Jessica, and we really appreciate your initiative and your support of just coming and doing it in the last minute. Thank you so much. And thanks to Madam Kavita, who had moderated so well the other two speakers. Engineer Dr. V. Rangarajan and Dr. Other doctor who was talking. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Kavita. Without taking much time, I just put in a few thoughts which came to my mind as such, and I'll try to present the same without taking much time of it. Madam Sandhya Balaji, I would like to take your help for. Hope my screen is visible.
It's loading. It's loading. Yeah, now it is visible.
Social and economic development impacts of climatic finance. Well, we all know that we have been talking about climatic finance, what to say, coming to the SWOT analysis factor of it, the strength of it, the shortcomings of it, recommendation threats, and everything that we have been dealing into. Coming to the socio-economic development is the actual rationale of it, is the objective of it, as it shows the output. Anything that has got the input, what is the output? That's what is the socio-economic development. So we are all the CIFS stakeholders might take a familiar with the climatic impacts of our investments, but there is less knowledge of the contributions of the CIF programs that are making towards the developing countries when it related to national socio and economic development objectives towards a wider UN sustainable developmental goals. These additional developmental impacts, sometimes called as co-benefits, are generally difficult to assess and measure, but they are important because they are significantly strengthen the case for increased climatic finance. These outcomes can include, very importantly, point-wise, job creation, improved health, increased economic activity, market development, and gender equality impacts. So we need to understand what these impacts are, capture them, and evaluate them. The importance of these developmental impacts in climatic finance, or understanding these additional impacts, is especially valuable in the current context of COVID-19, as Mr. Samuel was mentioning, related to the economic stimulus and the recovery efforts. Evidence shows that pursuing low emission and climate resilient growth, as the doctor was mentioning and talking about the resilience, is the best way to unlock the lasting socio-economic and environmental benefits. For example, new climate economic estimates that bold climate action in the key industries could deliver at least $2.6 trillion in the net economic benefits by 2030. Look at the number, alarming numbers, including more than 65 million with the new low carbon jobs and 700,000 avoided premature deaths from air pollution. New studies also show that strong connections between CIFS climate investments and supporting countries of COVID-19 recoveries. To help expand the knowledge base in these areas, CIF launched a new work stream in 2019 called Socio-Economic Developmental Impacts on Climatic Finance. It is aimed at the better understanding and the reporting on socio and economic impacts related to CIF climatic programs. To start with, we should study the existing evidence base to map out the three types of developmental impacts that may be present in the climatic programs. And the table which is going to follow through shows that the wide range of impacts, including in the socio-economic and environmental market spheres, as well as the cross-cutting dimensions or impacts such as relating to the gender and vulnerable population. So the developmental impact categorizations or social impacts are experienced by people or communities. Economic impacts contribute to the economic growth. Environmental impacts conserve and protect national resources. Market impacts contribute to the systematic improvements. So gender dimensions of the developmental impacts and the vulnerable population, the local stakeholders dimensions of the developmental includes health and safety, number one. Number two, livelihood, wealth, and quality of life. Three, access to the essential services. So these are the impact areas. The fourth, the employment opportunities. Fifth, it will impact the economic value and add the GDP. Number six, water, Number 7, ecosystems and biodiversity. Number 8, soil and crops productivity. Number 9, energy sector and security and resilience. Number 10, competitive and industrial development. Number 11, inclusiveness and energy justice. All more replica of the SDG goals only. So the early learnings reveal that the economic impacts of CIF's renewable energy portfolios, or in addition to the scoping of the range of the potential development impacts in CIF programs, and the CIF has also analyzed the potential economic impacts linked within the renewable energy portfolios of the Clean Technology Fund, CTF, and scaling up the renewable energy program of SREP. This was done by testing the several publicly available analytical tools and input-output models to estimate the contributions of the programs to the local employment and the economic value-added contributions to domestic GDP via their investments. By using available tools that require the minimal data inputs, we are able to test their relevance to the existing approaches while also minimizing the need of the additional data collection and monitoring the report fatigue of the partners. So the early results of these, we are talking about the early results of these estimates show that promising projections of the contributions of the CIF renewable energy portfolios across both employment and economic value added services. Now the employment impact generating more and more greener jobs. That's what is the all target is all about. And coming to the youth generation, it's how they're not going to be the job seeker, they're going to be the job givers. So the tools allow CIF to estimate both diverse investee companies and indirect supply chain and induced employment effects of CTF and SREP portfolio as evidenced in the graphic, which is going to follow through. These impacts are estimated both for the construction phase of the project's short-term impacts using the number of persons in the years and the operation phases with the long-term impacts using the number of annual and the recurring job. For example, CTF and SREP renewable energy products would contribute to 1.9 million of the person real years of the direct employment during construction and nearly 80,000 of the direct recurring jobs during the project operations, all in the local job markets. So the employment impacts of CTF and SREP top line results are direct, that is CTF renewable energy products, SREP renewable energy products. Look at the numbers of the dollars, $337 billion, and this is $3.4 billion. And with the construction, it is 1.9 billion per year, and construction 42,000 per year. The operations, it is 76,000 recurring jobs, and operations 3,500 recurring jobs. Whereas the employment impacts indirect are going to be all CTF portfolios with $53 billion and all SREP portfolios with 3.5 billion. Construction and supply chain 1.7 million per year, and construction supply chain 123,000 jobs per year. Construction induced 1.3 million per year, construction induced 61,000 per year. So the value added and energy able impacts follows through as the contribution of the CF climatic projects to the local economy are estimated using the joint impact model by calculating the economic value added, which is sum of the company salaries, profits, and taxes being paid, etc., etc., the total contribution to the domestic GDP expressed in US dollars. Both the direct and the value added effects could be estimated initially only for the construction phase of the projects due to the data limitations regarding operational phases. It was found that the CTF and SREP investments are projected to generate direct economic value added services of $24.1 billion and indirect value added services of $20.6 billion to the local economies during the project construction phases. Finally, using the joint impact model, CIF estimated the enabling effects of the additional power generation in the country, whereby the availability and the reliability of the energy access and the reduction of the energy costs translate to the higher economy-wide revenues and thus additional employment and value added. It was found that CTF and the SREP could contribute to 643,000 additional recurring jobs and $4.3 billion in the value added each year that renewable energy products are in operation. So the value added enable impacts of CTF and SREP with the top line results are as follows. CTF portfolio, all CTF portfolio will have 53 billion, all SREP portfolio will have 3.5 billion. Construction direct will have $20 billion, and construction direct will have $1.4 billion. So the construction supply chain will have $19 billion. Construction supply chain will have $603 billion. So these are the value-added impacts, direct and indirect. So through power enabling impacts, indirect, CTF will be able to renewable energy products with $37 billion, SREP renewable energy products with $3.4 billion, operations with 500,000 jobs per year, operations with 143 jobs per year, operations with $3.9 billion value, operations with 445 billion value-added services. So the future learnings are as follows, and the next steps in exploring other developmental impacts of CF programs. The promising initial results from these analyses on the account of the economic impacts of the two of the 3I portfolios show how powerful for a better understanding of the specific developmental impacts can be in supporting the drive for even more impactful climatic investment decisions. This is only the first step in the learning workstream. However, as CF now moves to explore the other types of impacts, such as social impacts relating to the livelihoods and the health, or other market level impacts, or strengthening industries and systems, we will also dive deeper into the understanding of the more qualitative outcomes of our products, such as job type and the quality and the community engagement for good living standards. Future learnings using this approach are forthcoming for all CIF portfolios, including the Forest Investment Program, that is FIP, and the pilot program for climate resilience, that PPCR. So the CIF work streams learnings will help us to expand and improve the knowledge of the evidence base across the key economic sectors. They will also strengthen the case of increasing the ambition of the climatic change action by national government funders, development investors, and the private sector. They will also ensure current and the future climatic finance programs are optimized to deliver both climatic and sustainable developmental objectives. So the climatic crisis cannot be solved by one person or one organization alone, but it requires a truly global and collaborative effort. We are all committed to evaluating everything we do, implementing the current lessons learned in the design and the execution of our future projects, and sharing these solutions with the rest of the world. So let's stay tuned throughout the year, and we disseminate the learnings for our continued research on the development of the impacts of climatic finance with our partners, with the wider climatic finance community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. As usual, it was like, we can't say that it was impromptu last minute, and that shows so much of your passion involved with the subject. And as usual, you covered every aspect of the topic, every impact that we can foresee. And yes, I'm still, I'm bowled away by your presentation. And we all know that the social and economic impacts of the climate changes that we face, we need to invest, we need to consider that aspect of the society that will be affected. Is mainly, it's not the people who live on the upper end, but who are very, very at the lower level or lower strata of the society. And considering that, which is the major part of the world, we have to take this aspect of the financing seriously to bring about equanimity across all stratas of the society. So thank you so much for all your inputs and your inspiring never give up attitude. Is there any other person? I'm opening the floor for any kind of inputs. We can quickly go for a round of it, and then we will go for the plan.
So Kavita, would you like to say something? You opened your video. Yes, ma'am.
Pardon, ma'am?
Well, I think we are towards the end of the session. Yes, Dr. Kavita?
Yes, madam. Pardon, I couldn't hear you.
would you like to say something? You opened your video.
1 minute, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yes. About the event, about today's program, ma'am?
Yeah, okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, really, I appreciate Dr. Srividhya ma'am for arranging such a wonderful and informative program today. We all we come together to achieve our goal, and we come to know about a lot of information regarding this climate action, and nearly 6 speakers are there. They are given their valuable inputs regarding the different topics, and moreover, your presentation, the last moment was very informative and very nice, madam. Really is good. I appreciate you. And on behalf of IGEN, we thank you for giving this opportunity, and really honor, privilege to be the part of this. Thank you, Renuka ma'am and Jessica ma'am, Sandhya Shri ma'am, for all of you and your team. I really appreciate you all for your wonderful efforts in moving towards this making awareness, bringing awareness about this climate action and about the SDG Sustainable Development Goals to the public. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yes, anybody else? Yes, Dr. Pandian, please, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for the wonderful event. So really is one for useful to the society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to say something. Thank you very much, Dr. Srividhya, for giving your input at a very needed time. And just a few words on economic and social impact. What I feel that the climate finance is helping, certainly, but still there are very strong players who are diverting the finance for their own good. And that is what we don't want, to increase or widen the gap of what is there as a poor or rich. And we need to diminish the gap. And therefore, we need to always talk about having how we can decrease the inequalities, and especially when the climate finance is focused on diverting or transforming the system from the, for example, fossil fuel energy generation to renewable energy, which we will, non-renewable energy, which we will be renewable energy, which we will be talking in the following episode. I believe that there are plenty of constraints in transforming these, starting from the skill, spatially, and security of job, and the security of energy, and the security of economic development. These all things are so correlated that we need to make this climate finance work for the poorest and the vulnerable people, and not for just thinking of high technology, or maybe the industries that would allow still making the same mistakes that would contribute to carbon emissions. So I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Renuka, for your input.
Thank you. To add on more to Dr. Renuka, two things that we can never forget on this platform or forever is that education is never a preparation for life. It is the life itself. So what we educate is definitely not within the four walls of the classroom. As we say that I will educate, I will go to school, I will pass out, and then I will seek for a job, I will secure, I will make myself sustainable. Those are the dreams of yesteryears, which is no more existing now. Being proactive and pragmatic in our vision and approach, we should think that how we are going to contribute to make ourselves as a person, as a community, more sustainable. As such, we stand as an example to others just by not sharing our thoughts on a platform, or just by not just being there, Our presence is being felt in every corner of the world. As such, we are able to take it forward, to put it forward, and to bring it in action. And as action speaks more than words as such, and very less is very much more when it comes to action. So even a simple start of charity begins at home is a very good start as such, and we shall all do it. We shall all put our hearts, mind, and soul together to work on that, and we shall move forward. Thank you, Dr. Renuka.
Thank you. We have Jasmine here wants to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I actually just want to say thank you for the leadership, Dr. Srividhya and whoever, all the other doctors who spoke, and Dr. Renuka. And I see the potential of transitioning this from theory and verbal talk to practicality. It is important to impact, as you all know, I am very focused on the youth, is to actually meet the youth where they're at, because they are our future leaders. And if we can actually put things together to do that, to make them see that they are valued and that they are the change makers of tomorrow, it will have an impact. But already as it is here on this platform, you are going through each and every aspect that's important, like finances, community building and all of that. And I think I'm really thankful to be here, and I would like to work with you people to make sure that this is actually, it becomes a reality and not just a meeting, an online meeting, as we've seen in the past so many times, to look into the practicalities and how to connect people so that they can collaborate, whether it's online and whether they can take that online knowledge into their communities. The word poverty came up here as the communities that's impacted the most, but they are also the communities that can bring the most change. Because if we present them with something, if we can create employment through what we're doing, and our intentions is clear, and it is clear it's going to make a better world, they will rise to the occasion. All I would like to say to you people as leaders, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Just if we can add on to Ms. Jasmine, like very soon we are coming up with Ms. Jasmine student project on the same topic. Very soon we'll be launching it very soon. So we don't just talk, we always do. And under the able guidance of Dr. Renuka. So thank you so much. Moving ahead, anybody would like to contribute, because we need to have a review of the session, the forthcoming sessions with Madam Sandhya Balaji before we wind up. Anybody else? Okay.
Still time is here?
Yes.
Still time is here?
No, time is not there. We are ahead of the time.
Sure. Okay, it's okay. That's if time it's not there, we can close it.
Definitely, we can
Hello?
just have a time, a little bit, definitely.
No, thing is that is we are myself Pradeep Mahapatra working with Udyog, one of these NGOs in Odisha, Bhubaneswar, with the community since last 25 years. And major focus of our community is community resilience. And it's why I am highlighting here. It's there are enough data is here, and data doesn't data that we should not bring the data, and we should use the data. But however, act now, this is the way we are talking about this is resilience building. Act now is a problem, and because of this sustained advocacy and campaign, this war and financing. And it's this is the way this world is talking about triple planetary crisis. Climate change is one, biodiversity is second, and pollution is this is emerging. And all three are putting together community, and it's all community across the world. It's in a miserable condition. So this is if it is finance is required, but it's whatever finance is required. To start with the very small activities somewhere else, maybe pilot or to scale. Where this program has already been done, if it is a water related activity somewhere it is done, so that how to scale it. Where this biodiversity is a critical, then we should add it right now. If it is, food systems, then we should trigger it that. So that its gap is enormous. How to put this, how to minimize the gap with the minimum program and its minimum process to scale the resilience. Otherwise, this is the discussion that we are okay, that's we are highlighting the discuss, that's good. But it's somewhere we should start it because it's a crisis are very systematic and systemic also. And disasters producing deadly situations, further deadly situations. And it's this is nobody knows. Why I am highlighting? Why I am highlighting that along with the Chennai, Bhubaneswar and Puri and Kotak is also this is very critical aspect, and we are producing many more disasters. It was twice. Now it's evident that any moment you can expect anything else. So this government exchequer is not permitting it to work on that. Despite CSO government, they are doing commendable work and it's to minimize the death too. But post management disaster is always hurricane. It's very measurable. So this all three programs are very interconnected because food, water, culture, nature, life, livelihood, these are all interrelated. Anywhere, anything else you can, and it will lead to the resilience. So my appeal to you all, whatever it is, and Dr. Renuka is there and it's in a good position. I am also one of these advisors, it's accredited observer to UNCCD and UNEP and UNFCCC. I am sending to 2-3 people. I am participating in the COP. But the thing is that is how to pool the resources and put it in a legitimate way. So that it is a program process, there will be a very coherence and it's if it is together, co-create. How to link between these macro linkages. That's the crux of the resilience building. If it is feel free, then we can have a discussion further with this bilaterally and take it forward. Thank you so much.
Very true, Mr. Pradeep. We'll kindly take your words into consideration. As I have got only one answer because we don't have time to go on that. Journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So as we have our partner IGEN who have already done more projects with the student community, they will be able to talk more and more volumes on this topic, definitely. I know that. And we have got the other speaker from one of the other school from India, same India, like a Velamal institution. And IGEN is working across educational institutions where the student community is taking lead on these projects. So all over the globe, if the mandate is given to the student community, half of our problem will be resolved. So there lies the weakness. There is the starting point. Give the mantle to the student community. Start working on student projects. Instead of we talking and telling, if you just give the topic to them, they will go explore. They do much more research work than us. And I always keep my interns with me, and in no time I get my things done. As such, like whatever time of the day, they are all available to work. And they are the ones who really brings in the change. And they are so enthusiastic. So the best way is to give it to the student community as such and take it forward. That's the solution. As I repeat once again, a journey of 1,000 miles begin with a single step.
We saw a raised hand of Dr. Thamba Samuel Pande.
Yeah,
Would you like to contribute something?
Yeah, shortly as we are trying to round up, I think the recommendation I was trying to say have just been said. Today, whenever we include young people into our developmental activities, you see that those activities can go in a positive direction because they are very enthusiastic. They want to participate. They want to be seen by the world. They want to see what they can do. They want to assess their ability of what they have been told or what they have been learning. If they can execute it, I tell you, most of the students now today, they want to participate into the world activities, into their community activities, including them supporting students' projects. I've worked on different student projects in my country, in the different universities. I know how effective it can be, rather than just working with different people. I'm not saying those who are already aged people to involve them, because their experience is far great, because they can advise. But I tell you, if any project has to be successful now, let's target the youth and the student community. It would be of greatness. I think that's my, and also, like, I think Dr. Renuka was recommending about equality, inequality, and equality. I think it's very essential, you know. Let there be perfect inclusion, you know, like creating that kind of system, like including, it doesn't matter the educational background of the individual, but let's look at their background, what they have been contributing towards the community. There are people who are not educated to that kind of extent level, but I tell you, when you go to their villages, the kind of contribution they do, and people listen to them, you know, some of those people, we need to target them. It's not about background, it's not about level, it's not about location. You know, let there be a perfect equality and inclusion. And I think we can achieve our dream and vision. Thank you so much. And I hope this session can go far and wider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Srividhya ma'am, shall I add one point? Shall I?
Yeah, please.
It's actually, I'm very happy to inform that we have completed 9A IGEN Young Green Innovators Army Group 1 thing. We have completed, we have done, we have filed 4 patents. So with that team, that is related to sustainable development goals. They have done very well for the past 2 years. Now, we have started another group, 9B IGEN Army. We have started another group. The group comprises of nearly 50 students from all over India. It is from different states, from Dindikal, Coimbatore, Erode, like that. From government schools also, we have taken 5 students with a mentor. So we have 10 mentors from different schools, government schools, with 50 students. So we are very happy to inform you, and we have to move on with that students, hoping that we will achieve our goal. We are expecting 10 more patents with that group. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Under the guidance of our president, Dr. Ramesh sir. Thank you.
So, Madam Sandhya Balaji, should we go ahead with the presentation?
Yes, very much.
Please allow me to share my screen for one more time,
yes.
please.
Yeah.
I think this one. Sorry. Yes.
Yes, as we come towards the end of the session, let us just review what we did. We launched with a big bang on the 1st of October, and on 8th of October, we deliberated on climate adaptation talks, where we talked about how we can be prepared to the various climate change and how to bring about the change. And today we have deliberated on how the different kinds of financial strategies that can lead to a sustainable world with a climate that doesn't change often, or help us be prepared for the changes. The next week, we are going to talk about renewable energy, which is the backbone and a power for a safer future. And the week after, on 29th October, we will be talking about for a livable climate, a net zero, all the carbon emissions and the carbon or the lower carbon footprint future. That is what we're looking at. On the 5th of November, we are going to talk about the loss and damage or the impact of a climate disaster and the moral implications that is there on the society and the responsibility of the current citizens of the world. And on the 12th November, we are going to analyze how critical it is to preserve the biodiversity across the world for a sustainable future. And on 19th, we will call it a close as a grand finale and deliberate on the ideas as to how to take it forward. Thank you so much. That is from me.
Well, with that, we have come to the closure of today's evening, another Sunday evening. So on a Sunday platform, it's not that very easy to get united like this, but for an evening, forsaking family time, fun time, party time, whatever way we call it. Anyway, we are all passionate towards this wonderful objective. So that's how we are here. So I know it's time to call it a day today. Before we end, anybody would like to say something like if not so, then we would like to invite Ms. Jessica or Dr. Kavita to give their vote of thanks.
Okay, ma'am. I'll do.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So once again, on behalf of IGEN and also our team, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Renuka, who's the founder of GSFN, who has taken such a wonderful initiative in bringing out the awareness on climate change or on a lot of topics regarding this climate and also finance climate action to the public. And I would like to thank Dr. Srividhya for taking such a wonderful initiative, because I know how much it is very tough to go through all these things. And really, I appreciate you, ma'am. And thank you from the wholeheartedly. I thank you for doing all these things in a well manner. I would like to thank all the speakers of today. Mr. Tambo Samuel Fandre and Mr. Dr. Pandian Guruswamy, and next one is Mr. Dr. V. Rangarajan, and all the speakers of today, Dr. Srividhya Sukumar, and all the other speakers who has given their valuable information and inputs regarding this topic. Thank you all. And finally, I would like to thank all the volunteers and all the others who have participated in this program. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Kavita. Yes, so until we meet again next week, so it's bye, we signing off, and then we will be there again at the same time with another one more topic. So it's a greatest pleasure having you all, meeting you all on this floor, and amidst you all, it's bye. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandhya Sri Balaji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.